welcome back to another vlog. Today we're mixing it up. We're gonna start working on the truck just a bit. No, we're not bagging it, as you could tell from the title, but we are doing a complete front end brake job, and then down the road I'm gonna do the rears. The fronts definitely need it. Once the brakes warm up, it starts hopping a little bit, and they're squealy and probably have never been done. I'd at least hope so, that they have. But so let's get started. I've got the complete rotor. It comes as a hub assembly, being a dually. I got both of those. All of this is from O'Reilly's. I ended up picking up these ceramic brake pads just because you know, I'm gonna be towing and stuff. They weren't much more actually, so I decided to go with the best ones they provided. I've got the front and rear bearings for both sides, as well as the seals. So once I start taking all this stuff apart, I'll show you guys a little bit more in depth. But yeah, now I'm about to jack the truck up and get started. Let's go. All right, so we've got one side rotor off, as well as the caliper. I'm gonna go more in depth on the other side, but I just want to show you what we were working with. I ended up taking out the bearings, and so the front bearing and washer, the rear bearing and metal seal, and then I cleaned the spindle up just to show you what was on it. Basically, so these threads right here is gonna be where this nut goes. It's not an axle nut, but the spindle nut. And so I'm gonna reapply some grease to all of this. This seal on the inside we're actually not gonna touch, so it's actually gonna be kind of a quick job. But these front and rear bearings that we got do not come, you know, pre-greased. So let's open one up real quick. I'm actually gonna pack these bearings real quick before we throw them back on, and then I'm gonna take the old pads off this caliper and then compress the brake pistons so that we can slide the new thicker pads back on. So I'm gonna get this side done real quick, make sure it goes smoothly, and then I will go more in depth on the other side. I'm gonna let this warm up for a sec. I'm taking this to probably just AutoZone. I gotta get some brake cleaner for when I throw on these rotors and hubs. Everything's basically done on the passenger side. I'll explain a little bit, again, more in depth on the driver's side. I just wanted to make sure that I did one side before I explained to you how to do something, when, you know, I could find some tips and tricks. So yeah, I'm gonna run to AutoZone and we'll catch you once I get the supplies and get back here. All right, so about 2 hours later, we got one side done. Only reason it took 2 hours is I ended up hitting AutoZone and talking to some neighbors and stuff, so had that all going on. But now it's gonna be quick and easy, at least should be for the other side. I'm gonna take this other side apart. I'll show you what you have to do to actually get off the brake pads, as well as just taking off the whole rotor and hub assembly. It's all pretty easy. Show you the easiest way to compress that caliper, as well as which bearings you need to grease, basically both the new ones that need to go on, and some tips and tricks that made it easy for me. All right, so wheel is off. Real quick, on the other side, I made the mistake of actually taking off the rotor and hub before I took off the caliper. And when I took off the caliper, basically the whole thing just like wanted to fall. So what you're gonna wanna do is take off these two 19s. You've got one, which is right here. Oh, one which is right there, and then one on the other side basically just holds the whole caliper on. And then I just used a tiny little bungee to suspend it from the traction arm, whatever you want to call this. I just ran it through here and let it droop. And then to take off this little cap, because it is kind of not pressed in, but definitely hammered in, what we did is took these big, let's see, clamps right here, basically put it on just like that, and then pulled off, just like that. Comes off easy. It's better than prying with a screwdriver and messing it up even more. So that is off. Right here, I ended up taking a paper towel and wiping all that down just to see it. Right there, you've got a cotter pin. Once you take that cotter pin off, there is a kind of like a castle nut cover, which is just going to come right off. You can just take it off with your hands. And then in the middle, you've got one big nut, which actually is not torqued on very hard. It's basically just to hold the whole assembly, and that is going to be a 1 1/16. So once you take the caliper off, that's how that comes apart. Pretty easy actually, especially if you have an impact. Just put it on a low setting so that you don't strip anything, and then the whole rotor and hub assembly will come straight off. So I'm gonna get doing that real quick and then pull it off and show you the spindle. All right, so just popped the caliper off as well as the old rotor. When you do take that off, be wary that right when you take off that nut, the whole front bearing and the little washer that goes on there is going to fall out immediately, and then the whole hub and rotor is probably going to start slipping down. So I just took that off. I just wiped off all of this old grease that was on the spindle, so don't worry, it wasn't dry. Just to show you, so I wiped all that off just to make sure there's no scarring or anything on it. And then what you're going to do is basically, you should be able to with your hand, there you go, take off that, it's called the back bearing, and then I might have to, oh, there we go. So here's the back bearing and that seal. So it is a metal seal. I am reusing that seal, but not reusing the bearing. So take those off. What I did last time as well is basically wipe all of this old grease off from the inside and then re-greased everything with new grease. So I'm gonna wipe all this down, re-grease it, pack the bearings, and then show you how to do those brake pads, because you do have to take apart the caliper to do the brake pads. It's actually pretty easy, so I'll show you that in just a minute. All right, forgive me just because every time I'm working on this stuff, of course the hands are getting dirty and I don't have somebody else to film here, so I have to wipe my hands after I do it. It's just easiest to show this way. So you actually do have to separate the caliper from, honestly I don't know what this is called, but you have to separate it just because on these brakes, not only does it go on the backside, but it's also in there. So it's kind of like on a track and it's stuck in there. Super easy to get off. It's just 13, size 13, 2 bolts, come straight off, and I just moved the little bungee to that. So what you're gonna do here is just pop them off like so, and they pop right off. Do it to both of them, and then the kit that I got, I ended up getting ceramic brakes, I believe I mentioned before. So at least the kit that I got came with these. All you're gonna do is basically just pop these right off, the old ones, and pop the new ones right on. Super easy. Put the pads back together on this before you put it on, and then attach it to there. But what I am gonna do real quick is compress those pistons. I did put the pads on the other side. I basically just pressed them right on, and then took this clamp. I took the clamp just like this, put it on like that, and then used my hand to turn this, basically to tighten it. I did one piston at a time, even though I did have the pad on it. I still did one side at a time, just so the pressure is relieved and got them to go straight in all the way. Just a tip as well, take off your brake reservoir cap, and it kind of relieves the pressure, makes pushing in the pistons super easy. So I'm going to compress the pistons and put the new pads in, and then I'll catch up with you guys in a minute. Boom, and we're back. So all I did was take that off, took those off, put the new little clips back in, put the new pads on after I compressed both of these pistons, put the 13s back on. I haven't tightened them yet, just hand tightened pretty much all the way. So I did just greased these new bearings. So these are the old ones, these are the new ones. Yes, I use brand new grease. That one just kind of, I don't know why it looks darker right now, probably because of my dirty hands. But yeah, so you have the bigger one is the back bearing, the smaller one is the front bearing. I'm gonna re-grease all of this. You put the seal on first. I'm gonna clean that as well. So you put the seal on right here, just slide it on after you grease everything up, and then you're going to put the big bearing right on. You're gonna put the whole hub and rotor on, put the small bearing on, and then put this little washer on. This washer does have a certain way it has to go on. If you can see right there, it's kind of squared on the sides. So you're gonna put that on just like that because there's a square on the side. So it's gonna go on just like this. And then the nut right here, and then the little castle nut guard thing, and then a cotter pin through. And that's about it. So once that's on, you could throw the caliper back on, and this whole assembly should take about 5 minutes to tighten everything back on. So I'm gonna throw that on, and then if I run into anything else, I will show you what we're working with. Boom, everything is back together. I did not put the, wherever it is, the dust cap back on this side yet, because this dust cap is old and it won't actually tighten when we hit it in there, so it's kind of loose. AutoZone down the street has one for $5. I'm gonna go grab a new one. I just threw on the caliper. Correction, these are a 21 on the back side, not a 19. Those went straight back in. Tightened up the 13s that hold the brake pads in, and threw the whole hub assembly back on. So just remember, it is the seal and then the big bearing, and then you're gonna put this whole thing on, and then you're gonna put the small bearing, and then you're gonna put the washer, and then the nut, tighten the nut down. Once that's tight, you're gonna put on the castle nut cover type thing, and then put on the cotter pin. So the last thing is dust shield, dust pan, dust cap. Yeah, I think it's called dust cap. So I'm gonna run and grab that. I just kind of wanted to finish this up before the sun goes down. I'm not sure how long it's gonna be till I get back. The other wheel's on. I will throw this wheel on, drive it around a bit, let you guys know how it feels compared to what it did, but I just wanted to show you this before it got dark. So I'm gonna run to AutoZone. I'll be back in probably like 15 minutes. Sun's probably gonna be down by then. Throw the new cap on. If they've got two, I might actually get a new one for the other side and just take that wheel off, put the new one on, but that kind of went on tight, so I'm not worried about it. And that's really it. I mean, all in all, this is probably a 2-hour job. I mean, I stopped to vlog. I had to run some errands in between, help some people out, but overall, I mean, maybe an hour and a half job. It's really just taking off the calipers. If you just wanted to do the pads, probably just a 30-minute job. Jack the truck up, take off only the 13s. You don't even have to take off the 21s. Take off those 13s, redo the clips, redo the pads, and then throw it back together. But no, honestly, super easy install. You know, somebody at home could do it. You don't have to have a bunch of special tools. So I'll catch up with you guys once I get back from AutoZone with the new dust cap, and then we'll take it for a ride. All right, well, welcome back. It's a few days later. I am back in Tallahassee, so I finished up the truck. It started to rain when I was finishing up. I didn't end up really going for a drive after that, wait till the next day, ended up coming back up here. But I've been driving it around, you know, brought it on the turnpike, bought it on the highway, been, you know, daily in it in the city and stuff, haven't had any problems. You know, brakes are done, so definitely was well needed, stops a lot better, and I'm super happy with it. Definitely easy install. So if you are watching this video, hopefully it helps you, hopefully it was a little tips and tricks. If you're enjoying the truck content, I'm planning on putting it under the knife around Thanksgiving time, through about New Year, trying to at least get the front set up, maybe the frame Z-notched, maybe make some drop beams and some custom stuff for bagging it. But I actually just got in my downpipe and exhaust, so that will be going on later this week. Stay tuned, probably going to be the next vlog. I'm liking the truck content. We also still have the LS content coming out for you guys. So I've got some stuff in the works for that as well. Some little things I'm gonna do before we go too crazy on that. You know, I've got the list and I'm making my way down. So LS is coming along. Truck is finally coming along. Glad I finally got to do those brakes, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, we've got merch down below. If you are looking for a wrap, shout out to the sponsor JG Vinyl. Use the code OZ25 right here, as well as down below for the link. And stay tuned. Hit that like, comment, subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one. Later.